Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Batman Be Vlogged, the weekly vlog show where I review an episode of Batman Beyond after watching it for the very first time. Today we are looking at episode 48, Betrayal, from a story by Stan Berkowitz and Robert Goodman, written by Stan Berkowitz and directed by Kyung Won Lim. As always, there is a blanket spoiler warning in place because I do these unscripted and may decide to talk about spoilers. So if you do not wish to be spoiled, this is your one chance to pause the video, go watch the episode in question, and then come back and resume the video. Betrayal is a solid episode. I don't know how much higher up on a quality scale I would put it at that, just because of how I watched it. Obviously, it comes after. When does it come after? 1 second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, this episode is a sequel to Big Time, which I said was one of my favorite episodes of this season so far. And this episode airs 5 episodes after Big Time came out. And that's where my difficulty in determining its quality comes from, because how much of it is continuing and developing on from Big Time, and how much of it is just rehashing it. So the plot is, after the events of Big Time, Charlie Big Time, what was his last name again? They don't even give his name for most of this episode. They just sorry, got distracted reading my notes. They don't even go by Charlie for most of this episode. I think it only gets said once or twice. They just call him Big Time. Anyway, after the events of Big Time, Charlie has broken out of prison, and Terry now feels personally responsible for getting him back behind bars. Interesting to note that this time around, Big Time is not voiced by Stephen Baldwin, but he is voiced by Clancy Brown, who does give a very good performance. I don't want to diss. I love Clancy Brown. He's one of my favorites. But it is noticeably different from Stephen Baldwin. And I think if I had watched this as a kid, I would have picked up on that and been sort of weirded out by just the fact that voice actors change, because at the time this would have been coming out, I wouldn't have recognized what happened. But yeah, Clancy Brown does give a good performance. It's just very different. Very different from Stephen Baldwin. Probably for the better, just given what we know about Stephen Baldwin. But also, it makes Big Time sound older. And, Big Time is only, 6 years older than Terry, I think. And also, Clancy Brown is leaning much more monstrous, presumably given Big Time's appearance. But again, this episode does play into those themes from the previous episode, Big Time, in regards to Terry, Terry's personal guilt regarding Big Time, his sense of responsibility because of their previous relationship. And that's really where it's like if I ever rewatch season 3, I want to watch these episodes back to back again, just to see how much of this episode is a continuation from the previous episode, from Big Time. Not the plot. The plot is fairly unique this time around, but more the themes and the characterization. And how much of it is just being rehashed from Big Time. Will Friedle, once again, is terrific because this is a very Terry-focused episode. So he's getting to do some more character-driven performance stuff than he usually gets to do. And similarly, Max and Bruce are worried about Terry, because, as Bruce says, he's worried Terry is going soft on Charlie because of their previous history. Meanwhile, Big Time is working for a crime boss known as the Major, who I believe is... I forgot to look at the credits. Oh no, I just now realized that. But I believe he is voiced by and modeled after John Polito. Who kind of plays those gangster type characters. He's one of those, hey, he was in that thing, if you decide to look him up. And Big Time has his own issues because Big Time got his nickname because he was always sort of social climbing, so to speak, up the criminal ladder, granted, but he's always wanted more out of life, That's why he and Terry first got into trouble, because Big Time wanted to prove himself to a gang, and he decided to take Terry along with him as a kid, and that's what led to Big Time originally going to prison and Terry's sense of guilt. When Big Time gets out in Big Time, he uses his friendship with Terry to try and rob Bruce Wayne. And now here, that arc is sort of continuing because he is working with a crime boss, but that crime boss doesn't appreciate his mind. He only likes him for his muscle, which leads to Big Time plotting his titular betrayal and trying to become a crime boss. There's a lot of betrayal actually in this episode. Big Time's betrayal of the Major and Big Time's betrayal of Terry. Big Time initially kidnaps Terry, wanting him to be a part of his crew because he doesn't know anyone in the Major's crew, so he wanted people he can know and trust. And Terry adamantly refuses. And at first, it's a really touching scene. Will Friedle and Clancy Brown both play it wonderfully. Terry tries to convince Big Time to turn himself in and turn in the Major, only to later find out Big Time used Terry's plan to turn in the Major to take over the Major's empire. And, it also leads to this really shocking reveal that, because during their first confrontation, Big Time said he didn't want to kill Terry. And this time, now that Big Time is essentially the one in charge, he says, I didn't want to kill you then. And it just shows how far things have fallen, how far things have deteriorated. And, possibly the fact that Big Time didn't like Terry at all, didn't respect him. He just saw someone he could use, even back in their backstory when Terry was a kid. And it leads to a really shocking finale. Long story short, the Batman and Big Time's fight leads to a bridge where they're both sort of hanging precariously off it. Big Time is holding on to Batman, but he slips and falls into the ocean, into the body of water below. And the way the episode frames it, it is very obviously meant to be ambiguous, because the entire time, while they're holding on, Terry's holding on to the bridge, Big Time is holding on to Terry. Big Time is pleading, help me, before he lets go. And Terry makes no move to help him. And it just ends on this dark, ambiguous note. Was Terry unable to help his old friend? Or did he decide not to? I don't know. Because, I don't know if there's a fandom for Batman Beyond, but, is there a debate about this ending in the episode? Especially given, the final sort of clincher before the credits. Basically, Terry climbs up on the bridge, and Bruce apologizes for him losing his friend, and Terry just says, I just outgrew him. Again, Betrayal is a decent episode. It's got great animation once again. I just didn't really talk about it because I feel like when I talk about the animation, I'm kind of a broken record at this point. Will Friedle and Clancy Brown are the spotlight here, giving wonderful, nuanced performances. And this episode builds up to one hell of an ending. But those are just my thoughts. Have you seen Big Time? Have you seen Betrayal? I've been saying Big Time so much, those words don't mean anything anymore. Have you seen Betrayal? What are yours? Start a conversation in the comments below. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload, share the video around, all of it helps my channel grow. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.